Wait, did you catch that? That wasn't just a reaction of surprise. It was something deeper, something real. For the first time in years, someone who had watched the world's best athletes felt a quiet certainty shake them to the core. And that moment changed everything. Before we go any further, make sure you subscribe to Hi Malik, because what you're about to hear isn't just a story, it's something you'll feel. Back in June 2019, when coach Bruno Marcotte arrived in Japan for a national pair development project, he made a simple suggestion that would alter the future. He asked Ryuichi Kihara to try skating with Riku Miura. The very first time Kihara lifted her into the air, something happened. For a split second, their bodies moved as one, and the atmosphere in the arena shifted, almost like everyone felt it at the same time. It wasn't about numbers. Not technical scores, not jump height, not even the speed of their lifts. What Marcotte sensed was something far more fundamental. There are rare moments in skating when a performer's intention reaches the audience before the movement even fully unfolds, when the air itself seems to respond. That was the moment he witnessed. So, where did that moment lead them? What did they ultimately leave behind? And why is it that every time we watch their performance, something deep inside us begins to stir? To understand that, we have to go back before the glory. Before the medals to the darkness no one ever talked about. Because only by seeing what they went through can we truly understand what they chose. Today, we're going to follow that journey from the very beginning. And if you stay until the end, you might start to see figure skating from a completely different perspective. Who are Riku and Ryuichi, really? Why did they move people across the world the way they did? The answers don't exist only on the ice but beyond it. Their gold medal at the 2026 Milan Cortina Olympics, often called one of the greatest comebacks in Olympic history, holds a story far deeper than anyone could imagine. And now, we're about to uncover it together. Because pair skating is a brutal world. Statistics prove it. Even at the highest level, most pairs fall apart within just a few years. Talent meeting talent means nothing if the rhythm isn't there. You can have perfect technique, but without trust, you cannot throw your partner into the air and expect them to come back safely. No other sport exposes the difficulty of two human beings becoming one quite like this. In 2019, Ryuichi Kihara had already spent years chasing the top as a singles skater but never quite reached it. His switch to pairs wasn't just a new challenge, it was a gamble. He had to reset everything, retrain his body, and place his future in the chemistry he would build with someone new. Only those who've lived it understand the risk. On the other side was Riku Miura, just 18 years old at the time. She was recognized as a talented singles skater, but no one yet knew where her true brilliance lay. No one except Marcotte. Years earlier, when she was just 12, he saw something in her, something he couldn't fully explain. Not just talent, but something deeper. And when the two finally met on the ice, that something became visible to everyone. But their rise wasn't smooth. In 2020, the world changed. The pandemic disrupted everything. Training conditions collapsed, borders closed, and for a pair based in Canada, even staying together became a challenge. Still, step by step, they kept building, learning each other's timing, breathing patterns, emotional rhythms. Day after day, they carved that connection into their bodies. Then came the 2022 Beijing Olympics, their first time on the Olympic stage. They won silver in the team event, but finished 7th in the individual pairs competition. The gap between them and the world's best felt larger than expected. You could see the frustration on their faces. From the outside, it looked like they still hadn't reached that top level. And then came another setback, Kihara's serious back injury. It interrupted everything. Training became inconsistent, their timing fell apart, small mistakes started appearing in competitions. Reports even mentioned visible tension between them. From the outside, cracks were beginning to show in what once looked perfect. To be honest, even I had doubts back then. Watching them objectively, I wasn't sure this pair would ever reach the very top. It started to feel like maybe, just maybe, they wouldn't make it. But that doubt came from trying to measure something that can't be measured. And later, they proved that. At the World Championships, even with Kihara still not fully recovered, they delivered a performance fueled by incredible mental strength. The margin was razor thin, almost nothing separating them from their rivals. Yet within that tiny gap was an unimaginable level of focus, tension, and trust. They reclaimed the world title and secured their path to the Milan Olympics. But their greatest test was still ahead. Marcotte once described Riku Miura as something very special. For a long time, I thought he meant her physical abilities, her flexibility, her balance, her suitability for pairs. And yes, those are part of it. But that wasn't what he truly meant. What he saw in her went beyond technique. It was something about her presence, her authenticity. When someone performs, audiences can feel whether it comes from deep within or if it's just something constructed for the outside. With Miura, it always came from within. That's why she could move people, regardless of age, score, or situation. As for Kihara, Marcotte said something just as powerful. He was amazed not only by his talent, but by the beauty of his heart. And that's not something you hear often in sports. We talk about skill, strategy, execution, but rarely about the quality of a person's heart as part of their competitive strength. Yet Marcotte saw it clearly. He believed it was the foundation of Kihara's performance. Their personalities couldn't be more different. Miura carries an intense, almost cutting level of focus, something that can slice through the atmosphere around her. Kihara, on the other hand, brings warmth and calm, stabilizing everything with his presence, supporting his partner in a way that holds everything together. And somehow, that contrast became their greatest strength. When mistakes happen, Kihara never explodes with emotion. He stays composed, always respecting his partner, always creating a sense of calm. And that calm gives Miura the focus she needs to lock in again, keeping the entire performance steady. On the flip side, when Kihara shows even a hint of hesitation, Miura's razor-sharp concentration brings everything back into alignment. Someone close to the team once shared a moment from practice. They were working on a difficult lift, and the landing was slightly off. For most pairs, that's where silence creeps in, followed by frustration or excuses. But not them. They simply looked at each other quietly. In that single glance, something unspoken passed between them. And on the very next attempt, it was perfect. That's what makes them different. There's a connection between them that moves faster than words. From the outside, people call it perfect timing or being in sync. But it's more than that. It's understanding at a level you can't teach. I've watched figure skating for over 20 years, and it's rare, very rare to see a pair where character translates so directly into performance. I've seen countless teams fall apart, not because of lack of skill, but because their personalities didn't align. With Riku and Ryuichi, the foundation of their trust is on a completely different level. That trust is their greatest weapon, and at the same time, the one thing no one else can replicate. Kihara once said, "Our coach always tells us to stay positive, and that mindset lives inside us every day." Miura echoed that, saying those words always guide them in the right direction. Trust in their coach, trust in each other, and trust in their own expression. That's what built their strength as a team. And as Kihara put it simply, our bond is our greatest strength. Then came the 16th of February, 2026, the Milan Ice Arena. The moment where that bond would face its ultimate test. The short program at the Milan Cortina Olympics began that night. Riku and Ryuichi stepped onto the ice as clear favorites. Their track record proved its silver at the 2022 Beijing Olympics team event, a world title in 2023 and another in 2025. The crowd was filled with fans holding Japanese flags. The world was watching, waiting, but pressure doesn't announce itself, it waits quietly. During one of their strongest elements, a lift known for its precision and elegance, something went wrong. Just a tiny misalignment in timing, barely visible, but enough. After the performance, Miura said only this: "Our timing was just slightly off." Such a short sentence, but it carried the weight of everything they felt. Their score came in at 73.11, nearly 6 points lower than their team event performance. They were sitting in 5th place. The gap to the top was massive, 6 to 9 points. In pair skating, that kind of deficit is brutal, almost impossible to overcome. Right after they finished, Kihara couldn't even lift his head. Media outlets around the world reacted with shock. Years of effort felt like they were collapsing in a single moment. Commentators who had followed the sport for decades shook their heads. "It's too difficult," they said. "A comeback from 5th? It's not happening." History agreed with them. But that night, their coach told them something simple: "It's not over." And before the free skate the next day, he said one more thing: "Go out there and be the best in the world today." That sentence changed everything. They nodded. They buried the frustration from the short program deep inside and chose to focus only on the present. They couldn't erase 5th place, but they could redefine what came next. If they delivered the best free skate in the world, everything could change. That's what they chose. Just before stepping onto the ice, Kihara looked quietly into Miura's eyes. No words were spoken, but everything was understood. A silent promise: let's go together. Their breathing synced. And then, the free skate began. The moment they stepped onto the ice, the energy in the arena shifted. Yesterday no longer mattered. The music started, the performance unfolded, the lift that failed the day before, This time it was flawless. Height, timing, landing, everything perfectly aligned. Element after element stacked together, throw jumps, twists, spins, each executed with precision and emotion. The silence in the arena slowly transformed into anticipation, and then into something electric. And when the performance ended, the score appeared. 158.13. A world record. The arena exploded. From 5th place to Olympic gold, one of the greatest comebacks in history. Japan's first ever gold medal in pair skating. In that single moment, everything became real. Kihara dropped to his knees on the ice. Miura collapsed into him. They held each other and cried. No words, just tears telling the story. The announcer's voice shook as it rang out. Japan wins gold. And that moment rippled outward from the arena, across Japan, and around the world. The entire crowd rose to their feet. The standing ovation wouldn't stop. In figure skating, performances are judged by 2 pillars: technical elements and program components. Most pairs excel in one, but struggle to master both at the highest level. Increasing difficulty often sacrifices expression, while focusing on artistry can risk technical precision. But they did both. Their score wasn't just a number, it was proof. Experts around the world reacted immediately. Many said, "We haven't seen a free skate like this in over a decade." It wasn't just clean, it had soul. It wasn't just perfect, it had purpose. People in the audience were crying, not just Japanese fans, but spectators from all over the world. That night in Milan proved something powerful. Figure skating can cross borders and speak directly to human emotion. I'll be honest, when I saw 158.13, I felt something I couldn't explain. A number should feel cold. But this one felt alive. And then I realized why. That number carried every day Kihara chose to stay positive. Every moment Miura refused to dwell on mistakes and instead focused forward. It wasn't just a score, it was a reflection of how they lived. Because behind every number, there's a story. And if we only talk about the gold medal, we miss half of it. To truly understand what they achieved, we have to look deeper into the philosophy behind it all. In Japan, figure skating carries a unique meaning. It's not just about movement, it's about what exists beneath the movement. In traditional Japanese arts, whether it's martial arts, tea ceremony, or theater, the value isn't only in the action itself, but in the state of mind that creates it. There's a concept often described as the unity of mind and body, where the heart guides the body, and the body reflects the heart. Watching Riku and Ryuichi feels like witnessing that concept come to life in modern sport. Because maybe, just maybe, they were never chasing scores at all. Maybe what they were truly chasing was the chance to express something real together. They didn't just execute technique, they transformed it into a language of connection. The trust and shared rhythm flowing between them took shape as technical elements and reached the audience in a way numbers never could. This is where their performance reflects a uniquely Japanese aesthetic, especially the concept of ma, the meaning found in the space between things. The silence between words, the pause between sounds, the stillness between movements, that's where emotion lives. A Japanese historian once explained that form is not a restriction, but a path to freedom. And that's exactly what we saw in their skating. Every lift, every throw, every transition wasn't just done for points, it became a pathway to express their bond. In a single lift, you could feel the message, "I trust you." In the moment of a throw jump, there was a silent commitment. "I'm giving you everything." There was something there that couldn't be measured, but it was undeniable. Even their name carries meaning. Riku Ryu combines Miura's Riku and Kihara's Ryu, symbolizing 2 individuals becoming one identity. In Japan, combining names isn't just a nickname, it's a statement. It means the pair is seen not as 2 separate athletes, but as a single story. And fans embrace them that way, not just as competitors, but as something unified, something whole. After that unforgettable night, the world couldn't stop talking. In the United States, major networks described their performance as one of the greatest comebacks ever seen. Reports emphasized that they didn't just win gold, they redefined what figure skating could be. Clips of their emotional embrace spread across the internet, viewed millions of times. Analysts pointed out that the score wasn't just a number, it was a moment that carried meaning far beyond the ice. In Canada, a nation with a deep legacy in pair skating, experts openly praised them. Some even called it one of the most complete performances they had ever witnessed. That praise carried weight because it came from a country that helped shape the very foundation of the sport. In the UK, media coverage highlighted the emotional power of the moment, calling their embrace on the ice a symbol of what sport can mean at its highest level. Across Asia, the reaction was just as powerful. In China, where pair skating has long been dominant, commentators acknowledged that this performance set a new standard. On social media, millions watched and shared their routine, with comments like, "It's not just technique, there's a soul to it," and you can feel their connection even through a screen. When fans from rival nations speak first about emotion instead of competition, it says everything. In South Korea, discussions focused on their mental strength. Many pointed out how they responded after the short program mistake, highlighting the trust in Kihara's eyes during the free skate as something unforgettable. Their performance became a reference point for young skaters aiming to enter the pair discipline. Even voices from traditionally dominant skating nations acknowledged something special. Coaches and former athletes spoke about how the flow of the performance was completely unified with the music, something that represents the highest level of pair skating artistry. And across Europe, fans shared reactions in different languages but with the same feeling. One wrote, "This isn't skating, it's a conversation." Another described their score as a number that will be remembered in history. In Italy, where it all happened, fans said they would never forget witnessing that night live. What stood out most, though, were the everyday voices. One person wrote, "I don't understand figure skating scores, but I know I'm crying." That message alone gathered hundreds of thousands of reactions. Another said, "I don't know how to explain it, but their performance gives me something no other sport does." Someone else described it as emotion taking physical form. When you read those words, one thing becomes clear: figure skating, at its highest level, isn't just sport, it's human expression. And Riku and Ryuichi became more than athletes. The glances they shared, the breaths they synchronized, even their silence, it all crossed language barriers and reached people everywhere. Honestly, it felt like one of the most beautiful messages Japan has ever sent to the world. But here's where the story goes even deeper. What they left behind wasn't just a gold medal, they changed the very question the sport asks. Traditionally, pair skating has been about execution. How perfectly can you perform the elements? How cleanly can you meet the scoring criteria? But they asked something different. What kind of story can we tell together? And that shift was revolutionary. Because focusing on minimizing mistakes means aligning yourself with external standards. But telling a story means starting from within, creating something authentic, and letting the scoring system catch up to you. That 158.13 score in Milan, you could say it was the system's answer to that new question. A Japanese philosopher once spoke about pure experience, a state before we separate thought from feeling, before we label or analyze. Watching their performance felt like that. Before you even process what you're seeing, before you think, this is figure skating or this is a competition, your heart reacts first. That's what made them different. They didn't just perform, they made you feel before you even understood why. When you look at it from a bigger perspective, what Riku and Ryuichi achieved represents something much larger: Japan, carving out its own unique identity in the world of sports. In disciplines where physical size and power dominate, it's not always easy for Japanese athletes to reach the very top. But in pair skating, where technique, expression, and trust all intersect, the strengths of Japanese values were revealed at their absolute peak. Humility, respect for your partner, a mindset that values the process over just the result, and a deep commitment to expressing something real from within. All of that lived inside their performances. And then, in April 2026, the story took a new turn. Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kihara officially announced their retirement from competitive skating. At the press conference that followed, Miura said something simple but powerful. The tears have turned into tears of happiness. Kihara, it was reported, was already emotional the moment he sat down. His expression captured in behind-the-scenes photos released by the Federation. That familiar look, strength mixed with kindness, said everything. They even spoke about the possibility of continuing for another 4 years. But the silence that followed those words revealed just how deeply they had thought about this decision. Still, this wasn't an ending. They made it clear they will continue skating together as a pair, transitioning into professional performances and working to grow the sport's popularity. The stage may change, but what flows between them will not. Following their retirement, they were also honored at a national-level recognition of their impact as athletes. But beyond awards and honors, what they truly leave behind is something far greater: memories that will live in people's hearts far longer than any medal. In Japan, there's a philosophy about knowing when to step away, about the beauty of timing your exit. Many legendary skaters before them made similar decisions, proving that the end of competition is never truly the end, it's the beginning of something new. And for Riku and Ryuichi, that Olympic gold medal was never the final destination. It was the start of a new chapter. If there's one thing I've learned most from their journey, it's this paradox. The power to control imperfection. Greatness doesn't come from chasing perfection at all costs. It comes from how you respond to imperfect moments. After finishing 5th in the short program in Milan, they came back the very next day and delivered the greatest performance in history. That wasn't luck. That was years of learning how to face failure, absorb it, and transform it into something greater. They shined because they struggled. They reached the top because they fell first. And that applies far beyond the ice. Failure isn't just failure, it's preparation for something better. And they proved that, right there in front of the world. So what did you feel when you watched them? Was it the brilliance of the gold medal, the drama of the comeback, or something deeper, something unspoken between two people moving as one? If their story made you feel something, share it in the comments. Do you believe character is the strongest weapon? Or do you think results and technique define everything? There's no single right answer. But asking that question, that's what makes following sports so meaningful. And if this story stayed with you, make sure you subscribe to Hi Malik and hit the like button because every click helps bring the next story to life. Just like they kept showing up on the ice together, we keep these stories alive by continuing to tell them, so that one day, someone else stepping onto a new stage will carry the memory of that 158.13 night with them, because their story doesn't end here. Even off the ice, what they created lives on. What Ryuichi Kihara and Riku Miura showed the world wasn't just the beauty of winning, but the strength of believing. Believing in your partner, believing in yourself, and believing in the story you create together. That belief is what gave the world 158.13. And before we close, remember that moment one more time. Wow, unbelievable. That wasn't the end. That was the beginning. And somehow, it still hasn't ended.